When you listen to my talk, you will believe that I put this talk together between the time that Kerry Douglas spoke and now. So I had all of 30 minutes to put this together. So I thought I would answer some of the questions that Kerry raised in her discussion this morning, which is, when you evaluate something, you always have to worry about how do you evaluate something, particularly when something is as new as MOOCs or applying digital technology to education. And as the discussion continued, it became clear that you have to look at the stakeholders. In order to understand what is of value, you have to look at the stakeholders. So let's say you want to evaluate airplanes. Well, who are the stakeholders? Well, it's the passengers, people like us who fly in planes. How do you evaluate planes? Is this a good plane? Is that a good plane? Well, you come and ask me as a stakeholder, what do you care about planes? I say, well, does it take me from point A to point B quickly? What does it cost? Is the journey comfortable? Do they make me wait in random airports for long periods of time? Are the airports that do have access to these planes? So you would look at these things to figure out how to evaluate a plane. So to evaluate MOOCs and online learning, look at the stakeholders. And the stakeholders there, I've been teaching for 31 years, and much as I like to believe that we faculty are stakeholders, no, the stakeholders are learners, people that are looking to get value out of this and improve their lives. So in this talk, what I'll do is I will identify 5 types of stakeholders. So as we've looked around at people taking online courses and MOOCs and all of that stuff, we said, what categories do they fall into? And there are 5. And what I thought I would do is spend some time talking about each of these and look at what they care about. And in some cases, I will show you some data as to whether we are succeeding in meeting their expectations or not. And it turns out, depending on which stakeholder you talk about, they have different expectations from MOOCs. So let me jump right in. So there's 5 categories. The first one is what I call relevant. So these learners are looking to find that education has to be relevant. They're looking for something that's relevant to their job. They're not looking for something that is fun and exciting. They have a job to do, and they're saying, I need to find something relevant that will help me solve a problem. Okay, they're looking for something very specific, very relevant to what they want to do, and they're very focused. Okay, it's a small amount of learning, very focused. I want to learn something relevant to my job. That is one. Second one is transformational. So transformational we're seeing more and more of these learners. These are categories of learners that are looking to transform their careers. Our colleague from FutureLearn, Ms. Shufflett, talked about how 50% of jobs in the future are going to be transformed. Well, millennials and learners know this. So they're looking to transform their careers. I'll show you some examples where one person works in a bookstore and they've transformed their lives and they are now doing software development. So transformational are those learners that want to go from a square job to a round job. Okay, the little graphic shows. They want to transform their lives, transform careers from A to B. So if you want to evaluate MOOCs, for that kind of learner, it's simple. Was that learner able to transform their careers or not? If they could transform it, success. If they're still doing the same thing, then it's failure. It's very simple. You look at what they want and are you accomplishing their goals or not? So that's the second one. Third one is multidisciplinary. So here's an example where the whole world is becoming more and more multidisciplinary, where if I am in tech, I want to learn soft skills. If I have a lot of strengths in humanities, I may want to go and pick up some AI or analytics. So here, these learners are looking to broaden their horizons and get complementary skills. So that's multidisciplinary. Fourth one is fluid. So here, what learners care about is that they have lives. Well, I'm assuming some of us have lives too, but they all are embedded in their communities, they have families and so on. And they want learning to become part of the fabric of their lives. They just cannot go off and spend a year at a university. They can't do that. They live in a fabric, they live in a society, they have kids maybe, maybe they have a job. And whatever they do has to be fluid. It has to move back and forth between learning and whatever it is that they're doing. And so the outcomes they're looking for is they need to have this fluid movement, lifelong movement between learning and whatever else they're doing. And then finally, connected. A lot of learners we see, I would call them connected, in that they are connected to the community. Okay, or they may have a family that connected to the community. And they cannot leave that community and they have to learn or get what they want while they stay connected. Okay? So let's look at each of these categories of learners and look at what the unique challenges they have and see how some of what all of you are doing can help them. And let me also show you some examples of some evidence of where we are able to help them in a substantial way. So let's start with relevant. So relevant says that, look, I need relevant skills. So at edX, we do all kinds of surveys. Surveys of edX learners, we do surveys of learners who are not edX learners around the world, in order to understand the voice of the learner. What do people want? And the way you find out is you ask them, right? And so, or you read, you read journals or papers and so on where people have done it. But sometimes it's just best to go and do it yourselves because we want to look at the raw data and see what people are telling us. So one question we asked was, in a traditional education system, what fraction of your traditional education are you using at work? A shocking statistic that we found was that half the learners told us that they use less than half of their education in their job. Okay, so that's 1,000 people in the world. 500 people told us that they use less than half of their education in their jobs. This means that a lot of what we are teaching and learning today in colleges, people don't think are relevant to their jobs. As a faculty member, I have had discussions with colleagues where we often feel, look, we're not training people for jobs. We are training them for life. My response is that, when's the last time you've gone and talked to somebody who's coming to university? Talk to your customer. We don't like to call learners our customers. That's the sad part. We think we're not in the customer service business. We think we're in some other lofty business. Oh, this university is not here to teach, train people for jobs. We're here to help them, prepare them for life. But my argument is that working is a large part of life. So we should get on with it. And so, to give you an example, Erica, as one instance of a learner, IDB is the International Development Bank. They have some amazing courses on the water sustainability, or MOOCs. And so, as one example, she was working with some local groups and so on, and she wanted to take something very relevant to water sustainability to help the people. And so she took the courses in water sustainability, and she was then able to practice within that community. So something very relevant to what she was looking for, the very specific needs. So here's one example of a learner that had that need. The next category would be multidisciplinary. So some more data. So Burning Glass is a HR company that combs data through the web in company HR ads and resumes and so on to see what skills are in demand. What are people looking for? What are companies looking for? And what they discovered was that You may think it's all about AI and computer science or business and so on, but no. 1 in 3 skills requested by employers is a soft skill. 1 in 3 skills. Critical thinking, communication, teamwork, and so on. A third of the skills that employers are looking for are soft skills, and these are in conjunction with jobs. So when they interview computer science people, the writing is listed in almost 50% of the resumes. So it's not just about tech skills, it's about soft skills as well. And so you need, employers are saying they need this, and learners are increasingly looking for multidisciplinary education. So we did another survey, it's a reskilling survey, to ask learners, ask consumers, what do they think? Where do they think they fit within the spectrum? Do they have these skills? Do they not have these skills? And we asked them, these are consumers who are working, and we asked them, where do you feel a lack of proficiency in your current job? And what is amazing is that more than a third of consumers have felt a lack of proficiency in at least one new skill subject area in the job that they held. So they have a job, and they feel that they lack a particular skill despite the fact that they have the jobs. And they ask them, what skills do you lack in? The two big ones are 39% talked about data skills. Data science, data analytics. Analytics is big. So 39% felt that they lacked that skill. 37% felt they lacked more of the soft skills. I'm lumping in business skills along with soft skills. So you're working, you have a job, and you feel that you need to get something else. So as an example, if I'm in marketing, today marketing has become digital. I need to learn analytics in order to be able to be more effective at marketing. That's just one example where my background was in humanities. I need analytics. So multidisciplinary is really, really important, and these learners are looking for multidisciplinary skills. So my challenge to researchers and people trying to understand whether MOOCs are succeeding is to find a way to use this information. Where people are looking for these multidisciplinary skills, let's find out, are we succeeding or not? So I don't have data to show you on that. Fluid. And so fluid means that working and learning will be very fluid. That is, gone are the days when you study and then you go and work. There'll be much more of a continuum between studying and learning, and this will be part of the fabric of life. So just as one example, Harleen is one student. She worked at Microsoft in Hyderabad in India, and she was learning data science while she had a job at Microsoft. And so learning and working are going to go hand in hand. And so here as an example, we have a large number of learners. One of the biggest categories of learners on our platform are those that are looking to upskill and improve their careers while they are working. And so here we have a lot of data. So we constantly look at evidence, are we succeeding or not? So we consistently do surveys of people that complete programs. So on edX today, we have two kinds of programs. We have MicroMasters programs. The MicroMasters programs are about 25% of a master's degree, and you can think of them as a micro-credential. It's a 25% of a master's degree, and if you complete it, you get a MicroMasters in data science, a MicroMasters in manufacturing from MIT, or a MicroMasters in AI from Columbia. So that's one credential. A second one is a professional certificate, which tends to be much smaller and much smaller than the MicroMasters program. And as we do surveys of learners who've taken these, we ask them the question, did you get what you were looking for? And we try to be more specific. We ask them a number of categories. So did you find an improvement? Did you get a salary improvement? Did you get a better job? And ask them specific questions. And what we found was that 91% of people who'd earned a MicroMasters program certificate reported a positive career outcome. 91%. This means that the positive career outcomes that they indicated were things like a new job, a promotion, a pay raise. So we are seeing solid evidence that people are getting what they want and are able to improve their careers. We just need to see more of these numbers. The next kind of learner is connected. So many of these learners are connected to place. They might be in a university. They are connected to their locality. And so they need to be learning while they are staying connected to wherever they are. So here is one example. So the IT university in Pakistan brings together students in the university. And so these students are connected to their university. Now, at the university, they don't have a data science program. But the IT university in Pakistan dearly wanted to launch a data science program, but as you know, how many of you here has tried to hire a data scientist in the past 3 years? Many of you are data scientists. You know, you put your resume out there, I promise you, you'll have 10 jobs before you know it. Finding data scientists is hard. And when you can make all this money doing data science, trying to find professors who can teach data science at a third the income, you know, your odds of getting such people are zero. So they have trouble finding data science professors. So what they did was, even as the students are connected to their campus and are on the campus, they have embedded a MicroMasters program in data science from UC San Diego in their campus. So students take 6 courses on campus. They stay on campus in their dorms, doing whatever they do in dorms. And they take 4 MicroMasters, they take 4 courses within a MicroMasters program, within this micro-credential from UC San Diego, and they get a master's degree from the university. So these students are connected to their local universities, but they're taking a program from outside. So here's another case. So here the stakeholders would be the students who are getting a master's degree. The stakeholders would be IT University in Pakistan. Are they being successful in launching new master's degrees? So I just want to open all our thinking to all the radical ways and non-traditional ways in which MOOCs are being put to use, where there's no one metric. The completion rate metric works in a university where you have 30 students in a classroom. Okay, you've tied them down, you brought them to campus, you've tied them down, they have no choice, they're there. They can't go back home in a month because the parents will call them failures. Why are you back? Get lost, get back to college. There's nowhere to go, they're stuck. We have them beholden. So yeah, so completion rate makes sense because the only outcome, the only plausible outcome, the only reasonable outcome for a student in a college when their mother has paid $250,000 is to get a degree. There is no other outcome. Any other outcome is called a dropout. So their completion rate makes sense. But with online courses and MOOCs and so on, different people want different things. The person learning about sustainability wanted some relevant information. She didn't care about a degree. So there's different kinds of uses that we have to look at as we evaluate what makes sense or not. So this use case, the connected use case, has become so important, where people are connected to their local colleges or universities, yet want to learn something from the outside. On edX, we built some technology to support it. We built what is called a TLR, a transferable learner record. So you all have heard about a transcript. You go to a university, your courses pop up into a transcript. So we built a digital transcript where as you earn these certificates, like let's say MicroMasters in Supply Chain Management from MIT on edX, these credits, these certificates go onto your transferable learner record. And then with one click, so let's say I earned the Supply Chain Management MicroMasters from MIT. Next to that credential, there's a drop-down of partners that will accept the MicroMasters as credit into their local campus program. So here's a drop-down of some of the universities that will accept the MicroMasters as credit into their university. This is an old list. Today there's 30 to 40 universities that will accept these credits, and and the number is just exploding. And you'll see more and more of these kinds of programs pop up. And as we MOOC folks, as we learn these use cases, we will learn to support them better. And so when analysts go and evaluate the learners and go and evaluate instructors, Let's say, oh, is there an easy way to transfer my credential from A to B? Yep, this is the way to do it. With one click, so I don't have to go fill out forms. With one click, my credit that I've earned will flow. It's all plumbing. There's nothing fancy about it. This is just plumbing. With one click, the credit flows to the other university, making it very, very seamless and easy for a learner. This is just one example of how technology can help facilitate what a learner or university wants to do. And finally, to me, one of the most important categories is transformational. Okay, so just think about square turning it into circles. More and more learners are looking to do that. So here's one example. Mandela was a nurse in Ghana, and wanted to learn about, from nursing, wanted to go into global leadership and development, completely transform his career. So he completed the MicroMasters program in leadership from University of Queensland, and he used that to completely change his career. And he then moved to a Canadian NGO. From being a nurse, he went on to a leadership position in an NGO. So one example of a learner that got what he wanted is a change of careers. And with the MicroMasters, was enough learning that he could go and do that. So here for transformational learners, the outcome clearly is, did you or did you not succeed in transforming your career? It's very simple. It's got a yes, no answer. I don't think it's hard to evaluate. It's not, did you complete your courses? How many videos did you watch? What grade did you get? No. All that stuff is crap. Okay, what matters is, did you or did you not get what you want, which is transform your career? It's a yes, no thing. Simple. Conduct a survey of people who completed this and ask them, if you are a transformational learner, were you able to change careers or not? That's it. If you're not, then these MicroMasters failed. As simple as that. You've got to go back to the drawing board and go back to master's degrees or PhDs or whatever else. It's very simple. Just ask them what they cared about and then see if you're delivering on that. And so this is becoming a the transformational category is really, really big. And again, in a survey that we conducted, about 1/3 of Americans have, and this is an American result, have completely changed fields since starting their first job. How many people here have completely changed fields since starting their first job? You know, it's roughly 1/3. I used to teach, I used to do research in computer science, and now I do nothing. So I completely changed, completely changed jobs. So about 1/3 of Americans have completely changed fields. So let me pause there and again, highlight that there's very, very different kinds of learners. For us, used to university, we see one kind of learner who comes there, who wants to start at point A, and they have to get at point B. It's like a tube. You go in at one end, and there's a good chance you come out the other end. If you don't and you get stuck somewhere, you're a dropout. You're toast. But with MOOCs and online learning, coming in and going out is so fluid, it's so easy. This is opening up possibilities for all kinds of new things and all kinds of new learners who have completely different aspirations, who have completely different motivations than coming in at one end and coming out the other end. So we have to look at what their motivations are, and as we analyze, are MOOCs succeeding or not? Is this MicroMaster successful or not? Simply categorize it. Yeah, this is meant for transformational learners, and just ask the people completing it or dropping out, did you get what you want? So with that, let me pause, and I'm happy to take a few questions. When we started all this 8 years ago, honestly, we had no idea what we were doing. We said, this looks like fun. Let's apply technology and see what happens. It's like when Alta Vista first created search. It was a digital company. They had no idea what they were doing. It wasn't Google. It was Alta Vista that first did search. They didn't make any money. They just put up a search thing up there. Google makes the money as they figure out what use to put it. Similarly, MOOCs were started, it's a fun thing to do. But today, what we're seeing is examples of specific ways in which they're helpful to institutions. For institutional transformation, they're helpful to learners. And so your point, as we learn more and more about this, your point about, hey, maybe there should be a MOOC on what you can use a MOOC for universities. That is, what can universities use MOOCs for? And what can learners use them for? What can employers use them for? Three stakeholders: universities, employers, and learners. Absolutely. I think that would be as we learn more, it would definitely be a good idea to help people understand, here are all the cool things you can do. And certainly help us educate high school students. I have a daughter who just started college, and all they grew up knowing is that, this is a normal thing, you go to college. I envision a future, as we reimagine education 10, 20 years from now, I envision this model for education where while they're in high school, they take several online courses from a number of places. They've stacked up a bunch of credit already. And then if they have money, they go to a campus for 1 or 2 years to get the campus experience, for those who have money. And then they go get a job. While on campus, they stacked up more credit. Then they go get a job and start earning and living life. And on the job, they just said, oh my goodness, I need analytics. Whoops, I'm a terrible collaborator. I need to learn how to collaborate. So while on the job, you'll take more courses, and that's how you will live your life. Did I mention degree anywhere there? Degrees will become irrelevant. If degrees are important, then somewhere along the way, someone will ship you a degree. Sure, and you can paste that on the wall. That's a model for education that I see, where people will continue learning, and they'll keep getting credits, and maybe if degrees matter, they get a bachelor's degree somewhere. But people are not thinking along these lines today. But online education, combined with what we have on campus, as we rethink campus education, will create these new flexibilities for learners everywhere. I think it applies to every industry, particularly in healthcare. Healthcare has done it well. In healthcare, for doctors and nurses and others, there is continuing what is called CME, continuing medical education. They have to continuously certify themselves throughout life. So the doctors have figured it out. It's the other fields that haven't figured it out. So you guys are already doing this thing. Even in the medical field, I've spoken to 3 medical colleges today that are now interested in putting their entire MBB, the undergraduate medical education online. None of this Gray's Anatomy, anatomy, physiology, biochemistry, pharmacology, radiology, a lot of this stuff can go fully online. And maybe they come to campus, and even on campus today, they don't work on real cadavers anymore, it's too expensive. And so they're already using simulation. And once using simulation, you can do it online. So maybe you'll go to campus, to prod and poke a patient. But even there, with telemedicine, more and more of this is going online. So, what fraction of the medical degree do you have to come to campus for? Maybe a small amount. I want to make 2 points. One point is that as we evaluate MOOCs, I think we should be evaluating them not on pedagogy, but on outcomes. Far too often, academics have evaluated content and so on based on meta-level metrics like pedagogy. Is it using active learning? Is it using peer instruction? Is it using best practices? All of that is good. But at the end of the day, if all of that stuff doesn't give you the outcome you want, what's the point of that pedagogy? The pedagogy and all of that stuff is in support of a need. And so to me, ultimately you want end-to-end. In engineering, we have a phrase called end-to-end measurement, which is, hey, you measure what came in, you measure what came out, and something happened in the middle. And if the outcome is good, then maybe what you had was good. So I think that would be my basic answer. But to your second point, if we find that the outcome is not very good, then we have to, as engineers and educators, we have to look inside the box and see, okay, why are the outcomes not very good? One, it could be the pedagogy may have been broken. And so it could be that you're not using active learning, you're just taking videos from the end of a classroom and you're boring people to death. Maybe people need to learn actively and so on. So then you're sort of investigating how can you improve it. So that could be one. The second could be that the content is just broken. It's just, I think in Kerry Douglas's study, she talked about how content was number one. No, I didn't see the word pedagogy in there. We academics love to talk about pedagogy, but not one person said pedagogy, right? They talked about content. I think content matters. And so if the wrong content, if I want to become an eye surgeon, if I want to learn about retinal detachment, and it's really basic stuff and doesn't have the right content, I'm not going to learn, no matter what the pedagogy is. So I think the content matters, pedagogy matters, engagement matters, interaction matters. Am I interacting with my peers? Am I engaging? All that matters. But I think that comes secondary to the outcome. Once I don't get the outcome, I look inside, okay, let's look at these next set of factors and see how I can improve those. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a page out of Kelly Douglas' book. Okay? I'm going to ask you, whose job is it? So I'm a student, whether I'm in a job or I'm in high school or I'm in college, I'm somewhere. If I don't know that these amazing courses exist, that like Anant, you really need a course on sensitivity training or something. And if I don't know it, how do I know to take it? So whose job is it to tell the student, go take a course in ComSci? So who do you think? Raise your hands. How many people think it's the parents' job to help their children understand and guide them in what kind of courses to take? Most of you agree. How many people believe it's the learner's job to figure out what they want to do? How many people believe it's a teacher's job and the school's job to help the kids understand and take the courses? How many people believe it's an employer's job to guide their employees and tell them, look, here's what you can learn to advance your careers? So the answer is, it's society's job. It's all our jobs, absolutely, and it's not just one person or the other. And you guys gave the answer, so. That's a very good question, and I think MOOCs have been around for about 8 years. So it's too early to be talking about culture, because in the country I come from, culture comes over 5,000 years. But being in the US, I guess we're talking about 200 years. But still, culture is things you build over time, and but you make a really good point. There's a culture. So I've been teaching at MIT for 31 years, and the culture at MIT is what is called the hacker culture. Is you hack things. What does a hack mean? Hack means that you dive into things and do crazy things, and you hack things. You go in and you try to solve a problem, even if you don't know anything about it, and you try to come up with solutions, and you make solutions. So the hacker culture is big. At other universities, it might be the networking culture. You very quickly get to know a lot of people and build big Rolodexes. There are different cultures at different universities. Is there a culture for online learning? The first time I've been asked this question, and I'm trying to think of, I'd love to crowdsource from you all what might be cultures. Your idea, which is the internet culture, which is gaming culture. So my son, he is a big time gamer. And late into the night, I can hear him mumbling in his room when I go in there, and they're playing games with the people from all over the world, people he has never met. And 3 or 4 of them are teaming up, and they're playing a game, and they're killing, beasts and so on, and they're all teaming up and collaborating around the world. It's the distributed internet, culture of collaboration and working together. Maybe that is a new culture. I don't know. Any other ideas of, if there is a kind of culture that is being evolved through MOOCs? It could be the gaming culture, where people collaborate with others around the world and are working together, as and maybe this will help the job workplace, where more and more jobs are distributed. I think one culture that is evolving is lifelong learning culture, where in the past you had a working culture. That is one behind you, Manuel. One behind you. There used to be a working culture, and there used to be a go to university education culture. And what you pointed out is that it's a lifelong learning culture. I think Shiflett from FutureRun also talked about it, which is a sort of lifelong learning culture, where you're working and you're learning, or you're living and you're learning, and you're the fluid, connected, multidisciplinary. These are all working and learning, connected. These are cultures of life, not just an education culture. It's life cultures, where people begin to learn throughout life. And I think that's a really good argument for what might be a future culture. Manuel, you certainly put my brain on fire now. And based on what you said, I'm now thinking about, as we're 8 years into this, should we now begin to think about, some of the deeper issues? What is the culture we want to foster and create? And if our courses are episodic, they start and they end and boom, you're done, it's transactional, maybe we need to be thinking for the next step of MOOCs, and I challenge this community to begin thinking about what's next. Should we be thinking about culture? Should we be thinking about persistent groups of people who work together and learn together? Should we be thinking about not just a transactional MOOC or a course, but should we be thinking about some kind of a membership model throughout life where you're part of a culture of learning? I think these are all very good and deep questions to think about.